When we talk about AI training, it's so often treated like just another checkbox, right? Something you have to do. But what if that whole approach is completely backward? We're going to talk about how shifting AI training from a simple mandate to a real mindset is maybe the most important thing you can do for a successful AI strategy. Because really, it's not about what the technology can do, it's about what your people can do with it, and do with it responsibly.
And just so you know, all the ideas we're digging into today come straight from Chapter 7 of the tutorial on AI governance by Virtualization Options LLC. Okay, with that, let's get right to the heart of the issue.
And this really is the central question, isn't it? We've got this incredibly powerful AI at our fingertips, but there's this huge knowledge gap growing between the tech itself and the people who are supposed to be using it. A powerful tool without the wisdom to wield it? Well, that's not just useless, it can be downright dangerous.
And that's exactly why building AI literacy across your entire organization isn't just a nice-to-have, it's absolutely essential. I mean, think about it. You can have all the best technical controls and processes in the world, but if your people don't get the why behind them, those safeguards are, well, they're basically just for show.
And when it comes to teaching people about AI, a one-size-fits-all approach is a recipe for failure. It just doesn't work. A data scientist needs to know something completely different than an executive or someone in marketing. Every single role interacts with AI in its own unique way, so the training has to reflect that reality.
So, the solution isn't some generic blanket approach. It's all about targeted, role-specific training. So that begs the question, who exactly needs to learn what? Let's break it all down.
And to be really clear, we're not just talking about the tech teams here. We're talking about everyone. Let me show you what that looks like in practice.
Okay, check this out. You can really see the targeted approach here. For your executive leadership, it's a high-level, strategic overview, maybe 4 to 8 hours on the business case and the big picture risks. But for your technical staff, we're talking a deep dive, 16 to 24 hours on things like detecting bias and security. Your product and business teams, they get about 8 to 12 hours focused on risk assessment and ethical design. And then for all general employees, a really concise 2 to 4 hour session on the absolute essentials, like what's okay to do and what's not. See? Each program is tailored to have the biggest impact for that specific group.
So, now that we've kind of figured out who needs the training, let's talk about what they actually need to learn. What's the foundational knowledge that pretty much everyone needs, no matter what their job title is?
You can think of these as the 6 pillars of AI literacy. Everyone needs to get the foundational concepts, understand the basics of privacy, transparency, governance, and the legal stuff. But I want to call out one area here that carries a huge amount of risk and needs some really focused attention: bias and fairness.
So what do we even mean when we say bias in AI? Well, it's this critical risk that an AI system will end up making unfair or discriminatory decisions. And it's not because the AI is, malicious or evil. It's because it learned from data that already reflects our own historical human biases. Or maybe its design was just flawed from the start. This is honestly one of the biggest challenges in AI today, and good training is our absolute first line of defense.
So, to really fight this bias, employees need very specific skills. The training has to teach them how bias can sneak into a system in the first place, how to use actual metrics to spot it, and what techniques you can use to reduce it. And maybe most importantly, they need to know what the company's standards are and feel empowered and safe to raise a red flag when they see a problem.
All right, knowing what to teach is half the battle. The other half, and honestly the harder half, is creating a culture where that knowledge actually sticks and leads to real change. This is all about moving beyond a simple checklist and fostering a genuine learning mindset.
And the best way to build this culture is with a blended approach. You can't just use one method. Online courses are fantastic for getting the basics out to everyone at their own pace. But you also need live, instructor-led sessions for those deep, interactive discussions. You need hands-on workshops so people can build practical skills, and you need things like communities of practice so people can keep learning from each other long after the formal training is over. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. You can transfer all the knowledge in the world, but if the company culture doesn't actually support doing the right thing with AI, all that knowledge is pretty much useless. Training is the vehicle, sure, but culture is the destination. So, what does that culture actually look like? Well, it all starts at the top, with leaders who visibly champion this stuff. It requires psychological safety, creating an environment where anyone feels safe enough to point out a risk without fearing blame. It means actually rewarding good governance, learning from your mistakes, and weaving all these practices right into the fabric of daily work. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Is your organization just teaching people the rules so they can stay compliant? Or is it building something deeper, a culture of shared responsibility where every single person feels accountable for using AI ethically and effectively? The answer to that question, at the end of the day, is probably going to determine your success.